Hey, what is up, everybody? How's it going? Happy New Year's, everybody. Um, as you can tell, this is my new setup here. I'm excited to make my first ever live in my new office. For those of you that maybe remember a few months ago when I did my last live, we were moving to Tennessee. And so we were in a temporary house or a temporary apartment, and now we are officially in our home. So this is my nice little small office that I have. Para as pessoas que estão chegando para outros idiomas, eu vou estar falando inglês nessa live. But feliz ano novo para vocês. So yeah, I'll be speaking English today just because it's a video for all of my audience, and so if you like practicing a little bit of English, that this will be a great opportunity for that. So yeah, like I was saying, this is my new office. This is my new studio of sorts. As you can tell, it looks pretty similar to the old one. The background still has the piano and the world map. It's a much smaller office, so there might be a little bit of an echo. I'm not really sure how good the audio quality will be, so I'd like to have some feedback from you all, but hopefully it's not too terrible. I'll listen to it after the fact, since again this is the first live going out here to cap off the year 2024. And yeah, so I imagine that most people are out celebrating the new year, and some of my Brazilian friends are already welcoming in the new year. It's already 2025 in Brazil. Where I am, it is 10:36. So this little live here will help me maybe make it to midnight. But yeah, so basically, I just thought that I wanted to do a live in English to talk about the language learning goals I have for 2025 and to kind of recap how 2024 went for me. And also, I'd love to hear what all your language learning goals are. So this is more of a polyglot video, but I could obviously be speaking other languages for anybody that would like me to speak languages other than English. Hey Marcos, happy New Year's to you. I think in Argentina is it 11:37 or is it 12:37? I don't know. Ya es Año Nuevo en Argentina. No me acuerdo si la diferencia son 2 horas o 1 hora, porque acá son las 10:30. But just making a video here, a video in English talking about my language learning goals for 2025, since, this time of year, one of my favorite things about New Year's. All right, so it is already New Year's. Okay, well then, Happy New Year's to all my Argentine friends. Marcos, hope that you had a safe and enjoyable New Year's Eve. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it to midnight. I'm not a type of person that stays up very late. I know for Argentines, for the stereotypical Argentine, let's say, staying up till midnight is no problem. I mean, that's like when the party's not even started yet. So, but for us, or at least for me, I'm kind of older, I guess, than I used to be, and so now I going to bed at midnight or making it to midnight is kind of a challenge. So that's why making this live I thought might help me make it there. And then yeah, my Brazilian friends as well also have a reputation for staying up quite late. So those are a couple of things that if I was in Argentina or Brazil right now, I'm sure it'd be a lot different than being here, where the rest of my house is already asleep. So 10:37 here on the East Coast in the United States. So 2025 hasn't quite started yet. So this is like the last chance to think about what my New Year's resolutions are going to be. I have a lot of New Year's resolutions. I am the type of person that sets goals, and I usually actually do a pretty good job of completing those goals. I don't think I fall under that. They say like 90% of people stop their New Year's resolutions before January is even over. That's definitely not me. I am a type of person that accomplishes most of my goals, but it's probably because I don't set out super difficult goals for myself, maybe. But so I have a lot of goals related to health, like exercise related goals. Then a lot of goals related um, to work, a lot of goals related to family, um, But today I'll mainly be talking about language learning goals. So, yeah, what was I guess there is one thing that is kind of a goal for 2025 that I'm not sure that I'm going to accomplish. So, that is to be more to make dishes, to make meals from other countries. So I want to eat more Brazilian food. I want to eat more Italian food, more Argentine food. So I want to make food from those countries, and making meals is not something that I'm good at. So that is a goal that I there's a good chance I don't succeed at. So cooking meals from other countries is something that I want to start doing more. I want to Yeah, it's just something I've never really done, even though I love foreign food. I love food from other cultures. Making them myself here in the States has never been something I've really been good at or even tried. So I'm gonna start slow. I'm gonna say like maybe once a month to start off early, but then maybe get it up to once a week eventually. But so that's a goal that I guess I would say there's a chance I don't succeed at. But the rest of my goals, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna succeed at. Um, so the rest of my goals for 2025, I guess before I can talk about my other language goals, I need to kind of recap what my previous goals were for 2024. So last year, I would say was a pretty successful year with my language learning goals. So I started learning Italian for in a kind of passive way. I was kind of building my foundation for Italian. So basically, the idea was that I was using Spanish, I was using French, I was using Portuguese to learn Italian. So I found like channels that taught Italian in Portuguese, like Brazilians teaching Italian, Argentines teaching Italian. And so I was making these connections between Spanish and Italian, Portuguese and Italian, and I really liked that. And it was really like no pressure. I wasn't like, because again, I don't have like an urgent need to learn Italian, so I wasn't gonna just drop everything for my other languages and just go all in on Italian because I didn't want to lose my Spanish or Portuguese. So this last year was just kind of a slow get familiar with Italian, find out kind of the differences, the sounds of Italian, listen to some music, but I really didn't immerse myself. But everything's changing in 1 hour and 18 minutes. Um, Starting tomorrow, I will be immersing myself fully in Italian. Um, so that's my first goal is to live an immersive, like fully immersed in Italian, where I'm listening to hours and hours of Italian content. Um, and so Italian podcasts, but still, I'm not going to abandon my other languages, but I'm going to focus mainly on having like an hour a week of conversation in Portuguese, something like that, rather than a whole lot of listening in Portuguese or Spanish. I think I'm going to just focus on conversations, making sure I'm still using those languages in conversations, because I think the first thing that you lose, so like that like learning or forgetting curve, the how do you say that in English? But yeah, the curve of forgetfulness is like much steeper for speaking than it is for comprehension. So I could go years probably without speaking Spanish and still understand Spanish. But if I go years without speaking Spanish, I will have a very hard time speaking. And so that's where I I feel like to keep my other language up, I need to just use them. I need to speak. I need to, practice with tutors or just make videos on YouTube. Like just speak at least an hour a week. I think to help keep those languages. I mean, they're obviously that's not a lot. They're going to take a hit. That's just the way it is. So my other languages will take a hit while I'm learning Italian, but yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is as a polyglot. But I do anticipate that by speaking those languages at least an hour a week, that's going to help them not completely fall off. Um, so so yeah, I'll be um, practicing those other languages, probably making some YouTube videos in those other languages, even though I'm practicing or even though I'm focusing on Italian. Because the first few months where I'm just like fully immersed in Italian, I'm not going to be speaking a whole lot of Italian. I'm just going to be listening to a ton of Italian to get to just kind of assimilate the language, to better be able to pick up words and understand what people are saying. And so the first month is probably going to be just a lot of podcast listening. And when I say a lot, probably 2 hours a day of listening to podcasts at least. Um, and then after that first month, then I'm going to do a lot more of like shadowing, where I'll be listening and repeating, listening and repeating. So kind of building up the language or the speaking muscles, and do at least a half hour of shadowing a day. Shadowing is a lot harder to do in large amounts. But then come like month 3 or 4, I'm probably going to start actually speaking Italian, speaking with people, going through all those struggles. And then by like month 6, that's usually where I would expect that I'll be able to communicate fairly comfortably in Italian. And so that's kind of my goal, is to, by month 6. And again, I don't think goals should be like to be fluent. I don't think being fluent is a good goal to have. I think my goal should be the plan of consistency. All right, Marcos, take care. Yep, have a great new year. So my goal isn't to become fluent. My goal is to practice, let's say, at least 2 hours a day. Uh, sorry, estou tentando saber que idioma Natália Fernandes. Eu não lembro se o seu nome é português ou espanhol. But I'm going to be speaking English today, so hopefully that's okay with you. Um, so, so what I was saying was, my goal isn't really like to be fluent in 6 months. It's just, my goal is to practice, to live a month of full immersion in Italian, where everything I'm listening to is Italian, and then a month of um, half hour of shadowing with at least an hour or so of listening as well, and then a month of speaking every day, at least for like a half hour. And how am I going to do that? Because that's, hard to find a language partner. Well, I am, this year 2025 for me is the year of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to be using AI more than I have in my entire life. So I always say that I learned my other 3 languages for three different methods. I learned French with the academic method. I learned Spanish by living in Guatemala. I learned Portuguese, like self-taught by myself, um, uh, by like living, or with YouTube channels and things like that. But with Italian, it's going to be using AI. So it's kind of like my fourth way of learning a language, is with an AI tutor. So I will be using, ChatGPT and other AI tools like that. And part of the reason is because there's a huge time difference between here and Italy. And so it is more challenging to find language partners in Italy. And part of it's just because I kind of wanted to test something new. So this year, 2025 for me, is the year of AI. It's the year that I will be using AI to learn Italian. And so about the 6 month mark, though, is when I'm gonna really feel like I need to kind of start um, to also practice my other languages, because they'll be taking a hit. And so about the 6 month mark, I think I'll start to kind of rotate a little bit, where I might do 2 weeks in Italian, and then maybe 2 weeks in, or a week in one language, a week in another language, something like that, for a little bit, just to kind of brush those languages off. So yeah, I don't have the whole year perfectly painted out, but I think these type of things just kind of work themselves out. It's not super imperative that I have a clear roadmap, a clear blueprint for the whole year. But yeah, I mean, like, the way things have been going with me for my language learning, I feel I'm happy with the way my French. I now feel much more comfortable with Quebecois French, as long as it's not extremely informal and kind of like slang. But I'm doing better with my Quebecois. Argentine Spanish, I'm feeling more and more comfortable with. Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese still is, I would say, is my strongest language currently. And then with Italian, yeah, like I feel like I'm at a good place where I'm just gonna make really fast progress in Italian. I'm very confident in that based off of what I've been able to accomplish already, just kind of slowly familiarizing myself with Italian. So and all of these languages, the way I learn languages, the way I include them in my life, um, it all it's just kind of all encompassing because, for example, at work, I do a lot of writing. So I wrote my first paper in Portuguese this last week. I wrote a paper in Portuguese for my job that I'm not allowed to, report in Portuguese. So I wrote it in Portuguese, and then I gave it to Google Translate, and then I cleaned it up a little bit. So, like I try to find ways to use my languages as much as I can. Um, I tutor or I mentor a PhD student from Brazil. So mentor him in Portuguese. Um, I yeah, I always try to find opportunities for that. I talk again with ChatGPT in Portuguese all the time, at least a half hour a day. So things like that to kind of involve my languages in my life. But a big part of it is also with exercise. I go on at least half hour walks a day, sometimes longer, and then I exercise for at least an hour a day. And so those are great activities um, for listening to podcasts, but then also for talking to artificial intelligence. Like when you're going on walks, it's a great opportunity. And so with Italian, when I go on walks, that's going to be when I'm practicing my shadowing, where I'll be listening to audio and kind of repeating what I hear. When I go on runs, that's when I'll be listening to podcasts. So I'll be, it's going to be a lot of listening in Italian. And so, not a whole lot of talking early on. I don't try to talk from day one. I like to kind of get a better feel for the sounds of the language before I try to duplicate those sounds. So, but only I think a month or two before I really start trying to speak. So let's see, things that I feel like I still need to maybe work more on in Italian. I mean, I would say that I don't have any concept. Well, I don't have a strong concept or grasp of conjugations in Italian. I know very simple patterns that I've just kind of observed, but I have not sat down and looked at conjugation tables, and I don't necessarily plan on doing that. Um, in the past, I've done that for Spanish, French, and Portuguese. I definitely sat down and memorized conjugation tables for hours and hours and days. And part of me doesn't really want to do that again. But I might still do it just because I'm not sure that there's any other way around it. Um, but it's just kind of not exciting. So I'm not sure if I really want to memorize conjugation tables again. I definitely will not be doing flashcards. I do not believe in flashcards for beginners. I think most of the words that you're learning, you will see them so many times that you don't need flashcards to memorize them. Um, and so, yeah, I think for me, it'll just be a lot of just practicing the language. And again, that's why I think an AI is a great tutor for just kind of getting that confidence going. The apps that I've been looking at for AI, there's Teacher AI, which I wasn't super impressed with, but I want to give it a chance just because I do believe in the idea and the mission. I just think it's not exactly where it needs to be, but I do want to support that app. And then there's also TalkPal AI, and TalkPal AI has actually been helping my daughter. She's learning Spanish. And so just a few weeks ago, my daughter made the very mature decision that she said, I don't think Duolingo is helping me anymore. And so I was like, okay, well, I mean, that's fine with me. I'm not, I mean, she's smarter than I was because it took me a long time to admit that Duolingo was not helping me anymore. And so she no longer wants to do Duolingo. And so now she's talking to AIs as well. She could talk to me some in Spanish, but she feels much more comfortable talking to an artificial intelligence. So I think it's kind of going to be an interesting trial of learning how to talk to artificial intelligences because it's not exactly natural and it's a little bit forced sometimes, and you have to kind of know how to get the conversation to go the way you want it to go. So it is kind of a learned skill and art form, but I think that I think she's figuring it out. One of the tips I gave her this morning, because she was talking to the AI, and the AI was asking her lots of questions, and my daughter was getting kind of frustrated because she didn't know how to answer them because they were tricky topics. But then I just told her, I was like, when I'm talking with my AI tutor, I'm the one asking the questions. I'm the one that's driving the conversation because it's like, I'm not going to let them tell me what I'm going to learn about today. I want to be the one dictating the flow of the conversation. And so I usually am saying, "Oh, what about this region of the country? Or what about this type of food? Or what about this in history?" And so I, yeah, I ask the questions. And so I think that's one important tip when you're talking to an artificial intelligence. Um, so let's see, what else? Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for me. There's not a whole lot else to be said. So I guess I should talk about my goals for my channels. So, as many of you maybe have noticed, the last 3 months I didn't post any videos or any lives, and I've really liked doing lives. This live, isn't the best timed live. Doing a live at almost New Year's is not a great idea, but I just kind of had to do it. But I really like doing lives. I love having participation. I love being able to just talk about interesting topics. But the last few months, moving to another state, starting a new job, there's just been a lot of changes and a lot of additional life requirements, demands that I just couldn't really participate a lot in my channels. But the lives have definitely been a game changer for me because I don't like editing videos and I don't um, like doing multiple takes of the same thing, trying to get a video perfect. And so I definitely like the spontaneity of lives and the fact that I don't need to edit them. And so I will continue to do lives in 2025. I hope to do like a live a week. That's my goal. It would be like 1 week in Spanish, 1 week in Portuguese, 1 week in French, and then eventually in Italian. I'm not sure if I'll get to the skill or the level in Italian by the end of the year to do lives. I'm not like trying to get my Italian to a specific level per se. Like I don't necessarily feel the need to have my Italian at the same level as my other languages. I just want it to be high enough that I can, maintain my language if I or maintain my Italian if I then start to practice more Portuguese. So I think that with my plan of, you know, 3 months of really hard 100% Italian and then another 3 months of just practicing speaking a ton of Italian at like the 6 month mark, like June this year, then I think I can kind of do a little bit more of a balance where I'm also using my other languages more, but I'm gonna be using those languages at least once a week. And so again, that's why I think I'll be doing a live in each language or once a week to kind of keep those languages up. But other than those lives where I'll be speaking in French or I'll be speaking in Portuguese or speaking in Spanish, I don't see myself doing a whole lot of like studying Portuguese or listening to a lot of Portuguese. It'll just be kind of a language that I use to speak on occasion. So that's the way I envision 2025. So just in recap, my language goals for 2025 are to learn Italian by spending the first month of January fully immersed in Italian, listening to podcasts for at least 2 hours a day. The second month of February will be my shadowing month, where I will be doing at least a half hour of imitation, uh, repeating dialogues. And the third month will be when I start to speak Italian with an AI tutor. And then I'll do another 3 months of Italian where I will be, again, doing a lot of speaking and listening to podcasts. And so I'll have about a 6 month intense Italian period. And then the second 6 months of the year will be more of a rotation where I'll still be focusing on Italian, but I'll also be trying to keep my other languages more active. And so, but during those first 6 months, I'll be doing a live in French one week, Spanish the next week, Portuguese the next week. So I'll do about an hour in each language a week is kind of the idea. So that's how I envision 2025. And again, it's the 2025 for me is going to be the year of artificial intelligence. I'm going to be talking with Chat GPT, talking with all these teacher AI, tutor AI apps, and seeing how well I can learn a language by using an AI tutor every day for a year, basically. So I am going to, yeah, I've already, purchased those memberships, and so I'm excited to see how fluent I can get by basically talking with a robot. So yeah, that's it. So thank you everybody for coming. It is now 11 o'clock, so we are 1 hour away from New Year's. Happy 2025 to all of you that maybe have already started. I'm not sure which time zone would be midnight right now, but I hope that you're all safe and having an enjoyable New Year's, and take care, and we will see you in 2025. And for my Brazilian friends, please comment what color you were wearing for New Year's, what color you were wearing to bed, what luck you are trying to bring in the New Year's. So take care, everybody, and Happy New Year's. Ciao, ciao.